Hey guys, Philip from the Honda Resource. Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to back to a DIY on the first generation Honda CRV. The other day I posted a video of a quick time-lapse video of me actually replacing a transmission on a CRV. So I've got a different one in here and I'm going to be replacing the transmission on it. And I'm actually going to show you how I do it. So I guess without further ado, let's get started. On this video for doing the CRV transmission, there's some spots that my footage got lost, so I tried to take some clips from other videos. You'll notice like there's parts that are different, like the car that I actually put the transmission in is the silver one, and there's some parts where the car is red, so that's from a different video. And then yeah, so if you wonder why there's different color cars in here and it seems like there's something that's attached that we've already taken off, that's why. So just follow the steps in the order that I give them to you, and you'll be able to successfully complete a transmission swap in your first generation Honda CRV. So to begin with, I do have the car up on a lift in my shop. Now you can do this in your driveway. I've done plenty of repairs in my gravel driveway such as this. I've done plenty of swaps and stuff on the gravel. So it's just easier to show you how to do it, and it's easier for me personally working on a lift. So you're gonna need to get the front wheels up off the ground and take the front tires off. As you can see, also we got a CV axle. So I'll make a separate video about replacing the front CV axles, and also I'm going to be doing a drive shaft replacement. This one doesn't have a drive shaft in it. I do have another one out there, but that'll be for another video too. But anyways, we've got it up on the lift. So first thing I'm gonna do is take off the wheels, and they're 19 millimeter right here. All right, so let me get those off real quick and we'll get back to it. All right, so now I have the wheels off. I would go ahead and detach the drive shaft right now. If the drive shaft was in here, it has four 12.10 millimeter bolts that hold it in. They just kind of screw through the drive shaft, oops, and into the transmission. Okay, take those four out, and then you can move the drive shaft down and out of the way. Take off this exhaust here, because I like to take off this B pipe of the exhaust. So it's 14 on this side, 12 on this side, and then our O2 sensor is right here. It's got a little clip right there on the back side, so you have to push that clip, pull it down, and then there's a clip on the top side right over there, and you can undo it. So like that. So this clip right here holds it to the bracket, and then the clip that's on that side actually holds the two clips together. And then we got the two 12s here, 3 14s up here. There's one right over there, and then there's one right here on the front. And that'll get this B pipe out of the way. And then also, I want to take off this splash guard. So we got a couple 10 right here, the little plastic screws. Sometimes it'll have like a little plastic screw or like that one in here, but we need to remove that one. You can see the little 10 one there. We need to take off all four of the bolts that are down here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. If it had one here, take that one out. And if it had one there, take that one out. And then you gotta take this one out right here on the passenger side. And there's two 12s, one here. All right, and then there's one right there. So once we take off that's a little bit of stuff, we'll be able to take the splash guard down. I'm gonna take that B pipe out, and I'll catch back up with you in a second. All right, so unfortunately, the bolts here on my manifold are seized up a little bit. So instead of breaking them, I just left them on there and then just dropped the whole exhaust down. We have better access to these bolts here along this dust shield and also this bracket here. So I have to take out these two 12s, this 14. There's 3 12s here on the little plate that covers the shift cable. So there's 1, 2, 3, and they're all 12 millimeter. Once I get those out, I can disconnect the shift cable, and I'll show you the shift cable once I get those out. Then we need to remove this dust cover that covers the flex plate. So it's got a 10, 10, and a 10. All right, and then this also has a 17 here. All right, so now I have those brackets out of the way. So disconnect the shift cable. So just pull down a little bracket, pull it back, a little clip. All right, and then this just slides towards the passenger side and pulls out. So now it gives us access to our torque converter bolts here. So these hold the flex plate to the torque converter. It's 8 of those. They're all 10 millimeter. So the way to get those out is you just put a 19 millimeter here on the crankshaft and turn it counterclockwise, and then you can get access to all those. So just get see, we have access to 2 here. So then we'll turn the motor counterclockwise until we have access to 2 more. And just keep repeating that process until you get all 8 of them out. And then once you get the last one out, you should be able to turn the torque converter by hand behind that flex plate. All right, so there's our 8 bolts, and you can see how that torque converter spins in there by hand. Just use my finger and spinning it. That's how you know you got all the bolts out. I just need to disconnect this bell housing bolt. It's a 17. There's another bell housing bolt right here. That's a 17. Right here on my fingertip. All right, so we'll go ahead and take these 19s out and that 17. You gotta take this axle nut off. This is a 36 millimeter. So our axle didn't want to move, just bumping it with a hammer. So I put the nut back on it just a little bit, all right? And then I just used a punch, put it in the middle of it. And by doing that, it keeps you from mushrooming it out if you need to reuse the axle. But you can see it did knock it in a good bit there. And so now we should be able to finish tapping it on through. Now we got to take off the lower ball joint. So we got a little cotter pin in here. Just use a pair of, use this pair of snipping pliers. All right, so see there how I got it bent, so I can take my pliers, pull it together there. So I just put it right here and whoop, pry it right out. All right, and that's a 17 millimeter. And then we're also going to take off this lower shock fork, 17, right here too. And then if you really want to take the whole shock fork out, you can take off this 14, and it'll let you take this shock fork out, and then you're not having to fight it to get this axle out. So on taking the ball joint out, don't take that nut all the way off. What I like to do is turn the wheel like so, and then I'm going to hit right here, but I leave that nut on there so that if I miss, I don't hit the threads. So you can see 2 good licks and it came up out of there. So there we got the axle out of the hub. Like I said, you can just take that fork and move it to the side like that without having to take the top bolt out. And now we just use a pry bar, and we get it right here between the transmission and the axle, and just pry out. And out the axle comes. And we'll repeat the process over here.
Yes, it is.
So what we gotta do is we gotta hit this axle right here with our hammer. So we're gonna take the hammer, pop that axle out, and just come out just like that. All right, so it's a 3, there we go. That bolt, that's a 14, there's one there, and there's one pretty much right up under that. That's a 14 also. So we'll take those 3 out, and then we should be able to remove this half shaft. Also, right here on this mount, you're gonna wanna make sure that you take out these 2 14 millimeter bolts. So it's got one right there and one right there. So take out those 2, and that'll allow you to take off the torque mount essentially without taking off the rest of the torque mount. So just those 2 bolts, leave the rest of it attached to the transmission. So on the top side, I recommend disconnecting the battery. On the top side, begin by taking off the air box, two 10 millimeters here and here. Now I got those two 10s loose here. I'm gonna take those out, and then I just pulled this off right here, and it just slips over. The fitting down here. So I'm gonna go pull that out, and you get access to all the wiring and stuff. Okay, so it's got several connectors on the transmission right here. There's one right here on the front, and then we've got the one right here that goes to the shift solenoids. Right, and we got a 12 on the starter right here. All right, and there's a blade terminal on the starter right here. It just pulls out, comes off. All right, and then there is a 10 right there. And you take that 10 off, and that holds a wire that comes up here. It clips on right back there, and that connector is for your range selector switch. So we need to take this connector there, and then also this speed sensor that's right there. Disconnect that, and then there is one more connector on the back right down there. This one right here, that's your vehicle speed sensor. Tells the speedometer how fast you're going. So once we get that little bit of wiring off, and there's this 10 right here for the ground strap. Once that little bit of wiring is off, all the wiring is out of place. You can take these little connectors off here. All right, they just got the little clip. All right, so once all the wiring is off, you don't have to take the starter off on automatic. If it was a manual, you would have to take off like one of the bolts, but starter doesn't have to come off in order to pull it. I do have the two transmission lines right here. Typically they're the spring clamps. You just use a pair of pliers to squeeze that together and slide it down and come off. This one does have a worm gear clamp, so that one's a little different, but if it has worm gear clamps on yours, most likely they're 1/4 inch like this one. Put a little catch pin under there to catch any fluid that's going to come out of that, because it may have a little bit. All right, and then it's got the bell housing bolts. So you can see one there, there's one there, and there's one like right up in there. So that's the 3 up top, and then you get the ones on the bottom, and that's pretty much it. Put the floor jack under it. It should be ready to come out. All right, so I put a floor jack under the transmission, and last thing I gotta do is take out these 2 bolts right here. And both of those are 17 millimeter. So it's actually a bolt and a nut, and then lower the transmission down. Take my eyes open. All right, so I got the transmission out, and you can see these all still hanging, whatever. Really no need to do any kind of extra support on the engine, because it still has that rear T-bracket holding it, and this driver's side mount, and the torque mount, so it's not going anywhere. But yeah, I got this transmission out, and now I've got to pull the transmission off of this one over here. This is the one from the red CRV that y'all's probably seen before that was totaled. Go! So I got to pull the transmission off this one real quick, and then we'll get this transmission stuck in there. Anyways, we did finish putting the transmission in this car, and it runs perfect. Reassembly was pretty much right the opposite. So only thing I really would like to add of note is that to make sure the alignment dowels that align the transmission and the engine, make sure that you don't have alignment dowels in your new transmission and in the engine. Yeah, right down there, how it protrudes out. And then on the back, how it protrudes out. And because if there's alignment dowels are hitting, then you won't be able to successfully mate the engine and transmission, if you have an alignment dowel in each. So just make sure it's all on one side. Anyways, thanks for checking out the video. If there's anything else that you would like to see for a first generation Honda CRV, just let me know. I usually have tons of CRVs around here. You can see CRV. There's another one. And there's another one right there too. So several CRVs around here. They stay here pretty much all the time. So there's always opportunities to make new videos. So if there's something you'd like to see, just let me know and I'll try to get that knocked out. Thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you in another video. Make sure you like the video, comment, subscribe.